which is like already tested and proven. Okay, so then only you can able to define a vector. You can't just like define a vector by just grouping few variables that you like. It is not possible. Okay, so there are like few conditions available that you have to really follow when you get into factor analysis. You can't just like load your data and then say I'm going to like perform a factor analysis right now, I'm going to do it. No, it is not really possible. So there are few criteria that you have. Okay, the first one is there should be metric data. I mean, your data should be of either interval or ratio scale. I mean, you should have a numeric data, a continuous data. If you have a categorical data, it is really not possible to get into a factor analysis. Okay, and even after, if you have a metric data, you have to standardize your data to do your factor analysis. Okay, so after doing this, you have to really analyze your data whether it is suited for factor analysis or not, whether factor analysis will work for your data or not. Even if you have a continuous data, even after standardizing it, you may not be able to do factor analysis directly, but you can like try to do two different types of tests to confirm your factor analysis model. The first one is called Bartlett's test of sphericity. Okay, so this is a test where you will be like setting a hypothesis on your correlation matrix. Okay, so you'll be setting your null hypothesis as your correlation matrix is insignificant, which is you're saying your correlation matrix is identity matrix, which is there is no correlation at all. But whereas your alternate hypothesis, you have a very significant correlation matrix. So it's nothing but you're trying to say your variables that you have in your data set are orthogonal, I mean, which are not correlated. Whereas your alternate hypothesis says they are like correlated to each other. So you have to really perform this test by computing your correlation matrix, and then you have to pass this your correlation matrix on this Bartlett's test, and then you have to compute the value. So this is like can be like done using R, or you can also do it manually. So I'm just gonna show you the execution of how to do the Bartlett's test. Okay, so I'm gonna like open my R screen right now. Okay, see, so I'm just like trying to set my seed 0, and then I'm creating a data frame which with some normal distribution. Okay, so I have like three variables A, B, and C. So A should be of a normal distribution around 50 with 50 values with mean 1 and standard deviation 4. So it goes on. Okay, so I have like three variables here. Let me like view my data which I've created. Okay, I can able to see my data here. So I'll compute correlation between this three different variables I have. Okay, so when you see the diagonal matrix, it's 1. So the correlation between A and B is 0.16, A and C is 0.28, A and yeah, B and C is it's very minimal. Okay, so you computed the correlation matrix, and then let's see whether you can able to pass this to Bartlett's test. Okay, so for that you have to install a library called Site. So I'm installing my library, and then oh my god. So as always, I'm having my problem in this laptop. Sorry guys, I think I cannot show you this. Maybe like I'll try with Anaconda if possible. Do I have Anaconda in this machine? Yeah, I do have. Okay, so let's try that. Let it get loaded. But I'll just tell you like what will be the results for this. Okay. So here I'm like passing my correlation matrix. You should not pass your data. Please remember that you should be like passing your correlation matrix here in this test, and then when you compute, you will be getting your chi-square test statistic is 5.25, and your p-value would be 0.15. So our p-value is like greater than 0.05. Our level of significance is 0.05. Okay, so it is like kind of greater than our level of significance. So we can like say our data is not suitable for factor analysis or PCA. So this is a test which has been like used for factor analysis as well as for PCA. Okay, I'll just like repeat what I did. So I just like created a data set with 3 different variables, and I computed a correlation matrix, and then I'm trying to like pass this correlation matrix to the cortest.parallel, and then I'm trying to like compute my p-value and chi-square test statistic. Okay, so if your p-value is greater than your level of significance, then what you would say, your data is not suitable for PCA or factor analysis. So let it go on. Yeah, maybe we'll continue this. So this is a small example of a correlation matrix that I had. So I had like few variables here on the x and y axis, and the rows and columns. So here the correlation between wins and age is like 0.48, true shooting and age is 0.56. It goes on, right? So you'll be able to get a correlation matrix like this, and it should not be like similar to your identity matrix. It should be like significant value that's what you're trying to check. Okay, this is an example of your identity matrix. So as I said before, your p-value of the test should be like less than your significance level. Okay. Okay, there is one more thing that you can like check whether you can like proceed with factor analysis or PCA for your data is like by checking your KMO statistics value. Okay, so it is actually another test where you'll be like passing your data directly, and then if you get a KMO value, which is nothing but the Kaiser-Meyer-Ogden statistics, which is like if it is greater than 0.5, you can try to apply your data for factor analysis. If it is like less than 0.5, please don't proceed for any data reduction techniques like factor analysis or PCA. Okay, this is a real test that you have to really do if you are proceeding with factor analysis or PCA. And also like take a note of this, your sample size or the number of rows that you're like data points that you're like trying to like reduce should be like at least 4 to 5 times more than your number of variables. For example, you have like n is a number of sample, n is a sample size, and k is your variables. Like k should be less than, or you can say n should be like greater than 5k or 4k. Okay, if you have like 20 data points, you can like have minimum of 4 variables. Okay. Okay, so we have a mathematical notation for factor analysis, which sometimes like which resembles your linear regression model. Okay, so we have f equal to w into x1, wi2 into x2, wi3 x3, and it goes on until your k. Okay, so here I is your standard variable and f is your factor that you're like trying to estimate, and w is your weights. Okay, so it is the factor score coefficient, or you can call it a factor loadings. So this weight is assigned for each of the variable. Okay, and k is your number of variables. So this is a equation for factor analysis, and this mathematical form of factor analysis completely resembles your linear regression model. Okay, but the working behind this is completely different. Okay, it is not based on completely based on your gradient descent. Okay, so this is a methodology or the steps that is followed in a factor analysis. First, you have to like formulate your problem. So why are you like going for a factor analysis? So my problem is I have a huge number of variables, and I have to like reduce the dimensionality of it, and I want to like create factors. That's why I'm going for factor analysis. Sometimes it might be different things. I want to group my variables into factors to find real meaning. I want to like find the correlation between the between my variables, so that I can able to like form a factor which is of real meaning, which where I wanted to um, use in my model. So it can be anything. Okay, so first you define your purpose and find out the problem, why you have to like go for this, and you test your assumptions. I mean, check whether your data is suitable for your data reduction techniques, like what we did for we tried Barnett test, and we checked on KMO values as well, right? So you do that, and then you have to construct a correlation matrix. Okay, so to do the test, you have to like really compute a correlation matrix. But still, even if you're like trying KMO or statistics value, checking your KMO statistics value, you don't have to compute your correlation matrix. But but like you can like construct a correlation matrix separately, and then compute your factor analysis. So you're trying to check the correlation between the different variables. Okay, so because if your data is correlated, you should like go for a different method of factor analysis. If your data is not correlated, you have to go for a different method of factor analysis. I'll be like showing you that. Okay, different you have like orthogonal and different types factor models. Okay, that you have to like choose based on your correlation between your variables. Okay, and then you have to determine how many factors that you should have in your model. Okay, and then you have to check whether you have to rotate your factors or not. Okay, I think you should have like studied all this about working with eigenvalues, eigenvectors, and then all these things. Have you studied?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Um, that's why like I didn't like add all these things into our session today, because like then it's gonna be like little prolonged. So we'll be like using those concepts as well to identify our factors. Okay, and then we interpret them. Okay, so let's first construct a correlation matrix. Okay, first we have to try to identify the pattern within our data set, and then we have to check what are the variables are correlated with each other. So imagine I have like six questions, and I'm like trying to compute correlation. So here when I see question correlation between question 2 and question 1 is like good, question 3 and question 1 is good, 2 and 3 is also good. Okay, here question 5 and question 4 the correlation is good, question 6 and question 4 it's good, question 6 and question 5. Okay, so these variables like go together. So maybe we can like try to form two factors out of this six variables that we have. Okay, so now you can understand like how this correlation matrix helps us to like identify the factors. So it's the same thing. See, like we are trying to like predict the personality of a person. Okay, so here we have like few variables like talk 1, social skills, interest, talk to, selfish, liar. Okay, so when we this is same example that I showed in the previous slide. Okay, so I have like social skills, talk 1, my correlation is 0.772. Okay, so here even the correlation between interest and talk 1 is high, and interest in social skills is 0.879. So I can like group these three factors into factor 1. So maybe like it's all about your social skills and how much interesting you are. So if you're like that, you will be a person was kind of little talkative and then an extrovert. So here I have a correlation of 0.44 with talk to and selfish, 0.361 with talk to and liar, 0.27 with liar and selfish. So we kind of like group this together to form another group. Okay, so we are like trying to cluster our variables to form factors. Okay, so we have a graphical representation here. We are like trying to plot them in a graph. So when you like plot them with your correlation matrix, you are able to get these things. Okay, so this is your factor loadings. Okay, so here we are trying to like form two vectors, sociability and consideration. So we have a weight B1 for talk 1 variable, weight B2 for social skills, weight B3 for interest, weight B4 for talk 2, weight B5 for selfish, weight B6 for liar, plus my residual. Okay, so I have all my 6 variables for one factor. And I have all my 6 variables for another factor. Okay, so here you will be like assigning your weights, I mean your factor loadings. Okay, so you are substituting your weights here. Okay, which is nothing but your factor loadings. Okay, so if you're like saying like all my 6 variables like contributes to one factor and all my 6 variables contribute to another factor as well, then it is not a right model. So you have to really take the factors variables which really matter the most. So there is no hard and fast rule saying okay that should be like this factor loading should be like greater than this value, but most of the people consider if the weight is like greater than 0.5 they would take it. Okay, so when my factor loadings is like greater than 0.5 I would like take this as my factor. So when you see for social ability, talk 1, social skills and interest weights are kind of greater than 0.5, whereas for the rest of the 3 the factor loadings for consideration it is kind of high. Okay, so our factor loadings concepts also trying to validate that we can like group these 3 things together for one factor and these 3 things together for the second factor consideration. Okay, okay, so how can you like confirm or determine that how many factors that you should have in your data set when you're trying to reduce the dimensionality? So first you have to really like try to compute different factors by giving the input into different factors and then compute your eigenvalue and formulate a scree plot. Okay, with a number of factors, so the component number in your x-axis and eigenvalue in your y-axis. So it also you're trying to like you always like get a elbow kind of a curve, but so you have to like consider the point where your cutoff point like starts before that. I mean, so you have to like take the component which is like above the elbow. For example, so here there's the big dip for the third one, for the n equal to 3. So you should not take this. You always have to like take either n equal to number of factors should be 1 or 2. So having one factor is not that much good. So we can like take n is equal to 2. That's how you can like determine your factor based on the screen plot. Okay, so there's one more method you can like determine your number of factors based on the eigenvalues. Okay, that we'll like discuss a little later. But before that, we'll like get into the factor rotation. Okay, so so like there's like different types of factor rotations like available in your R and Python. But for that to use that, you really have to understand what is it. Okay. So here, just like consider there are like 2 different variables, x1 on x-axis, x2 on y-axis. When you're like trying to plot your data, so it looks like it's kind of little correlated to each other. Okay. So when you like reduce your x and y values, maybe you can able to like form a straight line. Okay, so here I just like to take an example of variables height and cigarettes per day. So height of the person and the number of cigarettes the person smokes per day. So when the height increases, cigarettes per day smoke is also increasing. I don't know how the data is like kind of relevant, but somehow we got a data like this. So maybe a man who's like asked questions like this from a guy who's like 10-year-old until like 40-year-old. So in that case, this data might be true. Okay, so when you're like see, there is a correlation between these two variables, and and if you're having a this variable height and cigarettes per day, you will be like having two variables in your data. But you can like try to reduce and try to combine these two variables and convert into one factor, one component, which can be used. So in that case, you have to really convert this two-dimensional data into a different form. Okay, for that you're like actually what you're trying to do is you're converting, I mean you're transforming your axis. So this becomes your this is your actual x-axis right here. So you're moving your x-axis to here, and this becomes your y-axis. So in that case, your data becomes more linear and looks like this. Okay, so you can like just like draw a line here and here. So in that case, you will be able to like plot the points on a single line, so that you can able to like have only one component or one factor, one column in your data set, irrespective of height and cigarettes. So that's what we are trying to do here. So when you like rotate your axis of your vectors, so this is your vector. When you like rotate it, things happen. So that is called factor rotation. Okay, so because of this rotation of your factors, you're actually transforming your complex data into a simpler form. Okay, so there are like two different types in this: orthogonal rotation and oblique rotation. So when you have your axis, x and y axis maintained at right angles, you can call that orthogonal rotation. When it is not maintained the right angles, it is called as oblique rotation. So for orthogonal rotation, your factors will not be correlated. Okay, for oblique rotation, your factors will be correlated. I have a small diagram for this so that you can able to understand here. See, so this is the actual axis. Okay, factor 1 and factor 2. So when you like try to transform your axis, so you are just like trying to move your axis in this way. Okay, already this axis is present, but this is your axis to the transformed data or reduced data. So in that case, when you're like rotating your axis, you're rotating the whole thing. So here also the angle is 90 degrees like your previous axis. This is orthogonal rotation. Whereas in oblique rotation, you see these two new axes which are formed are not perpendicular to each other. They don't have a 90-degree angle like your previous one. See, it should be like around 45 to 60 degree, right? So this is called oblique rotation. Okay, so there are three different types of orthogonal factor models that is available. Okay, the first one is Varimax rotation. So here what happens is when you like try to minimize your complexity of the components. I mean, you make your large factor loadings larger, your large weights larger, and small loading smaller in each of the component. So to do that, you use Varimax rotation. For party time rotation, you do the large loadings larger and small loadings smaller for your variables. Okay, when you try to like increase the weights for large factor loadings in for your components, for your factors, it is called as Varimax rotation. Whereas when you try to do it for your variables, it is called as Quartimax rotation. But when you like try to attempt simplify both of your components and variables. It is called as equimax rotation. So usually like varimax rotation is the like widely used orthogonal factor model. Okay. So this orthogonal rotations are always like have their axis perpendicular to each other. So they don't have the components, their factors correlated. Here I'm not talking about variables, I'm talking about the factors. The factors in the orthogonal factor rotation model are not correlated to each other. Whereas in the other one, the factors are correlated to each other. Please note this, I'm not talking about the variables here, I'm talking about the factors. Okay. So there's another method that we have to determine the number of factors. Earlier we were like talking about having a screen plot, and then we had an elbow kind of curve, and then we decided the number of factors at the optimal point, right? But here you'll be like deciding the number of factors using the eigenvalue. Okay, imagine I have like the variables here and my factors here. I have like 3 factors out of these variables. Okay, so and these are my weights. Okay, so you can like commute the communality. So when it's nothing but the sum of squares of this each variable for each of the component. So here you have a 69% of communality for this variable. See, where here you have computed for component 1 it's minus 0.198 whole square plus minus 0.085. They're like kind of negatively related to each other, but there is a good correlation factor for component 3. Good weight for component 3, 0.061 whole square, okay, which is 69%. Okay, that I have like computed communality. I'll explain what is communality briefly in the next slide. Okay, so here what happens, I have my eigenvalue calculated for the whole component, whole factor here. So it's nothing but sum of squares of all the variables weights. Okay, so for the component 1 I have 3.36, for the component 2 1.6, and for component 3 it's 1.018. So if your eigenvalues of your components or the factors is greater than 1, you can go for adopting that factor. I mean, you can consider that factor for processing. Otherwise, you have to drop this factor. For example, if you have the eigenvalue of 0.36 here, you have to really drop it. Okay. If you have a eigenvalue which is like at least 1 for all the factors, you should extract the features. Otherwise, you have to drop the features. Okay, that is also another method that is like used to determine the number of factors. Yeah, let's get into communality. It's one of the very important measure which is like used in factor analysis. So here it is nothing but the amount of variable variance each variable in the analysis shares with other variable. So it's nothing but the variance that each variable has with other variable. It's nothing but the variance of your data. Okay, to compute your uniqueness, you just have to like do 1 minus communality to identify the uniqueness. Okay, so it is actually a very good indicator for the reliability of a variable, and it is like denoted by H2. Okay, so when we like execute the codes in R, I'll show you how you have to like compute communality, how you have to like compute uniqueness, how you have to like check your factor loadings, everything we'll be like checking in the R. Okay. Okay, so like there are 2 different things that is like available to compute factor analysis, factAnal and FA. Okay, so to compute for explanatory factor analysis, you have to use factAnal, and for like the other method you have to use FA. Okay, so this is the example that we will be like using for our demo. Okay, so you'll be having a data of around 240 participants who is from Stanford University, where from which we are like trying to rate their personality traits. There are around 32 different columns based on their personality traits, and 240 people have answered the questionnaire. So you'll be like having a dimension of 240 into 32. Okay, so we'll be like checking out, and then we'll be like checking out your covariance and correlation. We'll be doing a KMO test, and then we'll be like creating a factor analysis model with rotations, without rotations, all these things that we'll be like doing it here. I'll move on to R so that you can able to see it. Okay, so so I have like download data from this link already in my machine, so I have it here. So let me like load it. Okay, so let me view the data. Sorry, I think it's not choosing. Oh my god. I have a problem with my machine. I don't know what's this about. Guys, can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I didn't know when did I lose the connection? When was it?
I don't know, ma'am. My system got crashed in a few minutes ago, ma'am.
Okay, so guys, like were you able to like hear me when I was like talking about R? When I switch to R,
Yes, ma'am. We were hearing
Yes,
for
ma'am.
that time only, ma'am.
okay, let's start it from fresh. Okay, I was able to load the data. Okay, I think I clicked the wrong file. Okay, so let's proceed with that. Okay, what? Someone spoke something. Hey, someone asked a question.
No, ma'am. It was by mistake, it seems.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Can you all able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, as I was saying, we'll be like using the Stanford data for this exercise factor analysis. Okay, so this is how the data looks like. So you have 240 entries with 32 columns. Okay, so I've loaded the data already, and then I'm going to convert this data into a data frame. Okay, and then I'm going to compute the correlation for this. Then I'm going to print it. Actually, like even for computing the KMO statistics, you have to like compute your correlation. Okay, like your previous test. For Bartlett test also, you computed correlation, and then on that data only you check whether you are able to like check do factor analysis or do dimensional reduction on your data. So the same thing, you have to like compute correlation even for the KMO test, and you have to like compute your test results. Okay, so I'm printing my correlation value. It goes on because it has like around 32 variables. So okay, I couldn't like show you the results. I'm really sorry about this. Actually the value was around greater than 0.05, which means that I mean this data is like should be like reduced its dimension. Okay, so now I'm applying up, I'm computing factor analysis here. So I am like using the import fact anal. Okay, so I'm using the data frame dstand, and I'm saying I need 10 factors, and I'm saying there's no rotation. So I'm not like saying you have to use Verimax, you have to use that method, this method, nothing. I'm just like saying it's none. And my action for NA values is omit. So I have NA value. If I have NA values, I'm gonna just omit this. Okay, that's my code, and let me print my model. So what it says, so that I was able to like compute uniqueness. You remember what is uniqueness? It's 1 minus communality, right? 1 minus communality is like uniqueness, that is like calculated for all the variables. So it says like it is like not it is like data is unique and is not related to each other. Okay, so here you had like around 10 factors. Okay, for 10 factors your factor loading weights are being like calculated here. Okay, and we also like did a hypothesis testing whether to check whether your 10 factors is like sufficient for this type of data. It says like this says your p-value is like very much less than your level of significance, so it is sufficient. Okay, so now if you want to see only your factor loadings, you can just like give your model name with factor load with loadings. Okay, here you can just leave on your factor load. Okay, and then if you want to like compute eigenvalues for your factors, so this is the code. If you want to check it, first you have to like take your factor loadings and then you have to do sum of squares. Okay, that's what that we did, right? In I showed you in my. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I am computing the sum of squares and then I'm computing the eigen values for my factor 1. So my eigenvalue is 6.7 for the factor 1. So always it should be like greater than 1, right? Then only I will be able to accept it as a factor, right? So it is like greater than 1, it is around 6.7. So I can like completely go on with the factor 1. Okay. So this is eigenvector. I am computing the proportion variance for this. Okay. It is a proportion variation is 0.209, which is already like computed. See, even when my for factor 1, my eigenvalue is 6.0706. It's here, and I'm computing my proportion variance. It's similar to this. Okay, so you can also like check by doing it separately, but it's all already like available in your model output. Okay, to calculate uniqueness, it is you just have to like give your model name $uniqueness. Already, even we see this we have seen this output already, right? So I'm just going to load my factor loadings to this first factor here, and then I'm gonna work on my communality distance. Okay, my communality distance is 0.58 for the first factor. So my uniqueness should be like 1 minus communality distance, right? So it should be like around 0.4. Yeah, it is 0.4. So here my uniqueness for the first variable, first factor, it is 0.41. So when I computed communality, I was able to compute, I got a value, and then when I like subtract that value from 1, I got my right value. Okay. So now we are going to check our factor loadings with each other. Okay, I'm not sure whether my plots will work here. Oh, it's working. I didn't expect that. Okay, cool. So here I'm like having a plotting factor 1 in the x-axis and factor 2 in the y-axis, and then I'm plotting the rest of the all the variables here. Okay, so when I see the factor 1, there is you'll be able to find good weights for these variables. Okay, and for this variables it's kind of negative. Okay, so I'm just like trying to plot my factor variables with one another, my factors that I've created with one another, that you can like try to do it for all the factors. Okay, to find out the relationship between them. Okay, so now the factor analysis that we have did here is without rotation. So but we have like discussed there was like 2 different types of rotation, orthogonal and oblique. I mean, where you'll be having when you like move your axis, when your angle is like with 90 degree, it is called orthogonal. We discussed this, right? So that now I'm gonna like give my rotation equal to Varimax. Okay, so I'm gonna follow Varimax method of rotation, and I'm also mentioning the correlation is equal to false. So I'm not going to compute correlation to analyze my dimensionality reduction, to work on my dimensionality reduction. Instead, I'm going to use my covariance. So I'm going to use my covariance data, which I'll be like computing it from the data set, and then I'll be using that for creating my factors. Okay. When you give core equal to false, it is like you are saying it is not, you should not use your correlation data. Okay. So I have like created the model. So again, I had like only 10 variables. So I got my uniqueness, loadings, and things. So almost it looks similar. And again, the p-value is 0.0105. It says 10 factors is sufficient. P-value was little lesser earlier, right? So there is like very minimal difference in your factor loadings, but there is a big difference in your p-value. Okay, now I'm going to plot my factors. In this. I plot my factor loadings here. Okay, here see when I was like plotting it earlier, this quite shy and everything was it was here, right? I don't know like what was the index here, but still you can like really see the difference. Okay, so now we have kind of built two different factor models, and then we have like reduced the dimensionality of the data. Okay, by rotation method and without rotation method also, and here also like we used a covariance matrix, a covariance structure here, but here we haven't used our covariance, but we just used our correlation matrix. Okay, so any questions, guys? That's all for today. So if you've got any questions, you can ask.